Looks like we're live. Hey there, YouTube people, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all across the globe. This is VZ Rush here for a first video on YouTube. I have done tons of videos like this. I've spoken with this camera forever, but I've never been able to upload any video. And the reason is whether the size is too big, I didn't have time to do that, moved. In fact, I came back to Canada from Japan. Whatever the reasons are, I'm here for a first video. This one is hopefully going to be uploaded. You're going to watch it. I gotta do it. And the purpose of this video is today to talk about the work and holiday visa to go to Japan for Canadian citizens. So I'm going to address everything here in this video to Canadian citizens willing to or interested to apply for the work and holiday visa in order for them to go to Japan. It could apply to other countries, but the topic that we're going to treat today is specifically going to be towards the work and holiday visa program in Japan. So I'm going to be sharing my experience with you. I'm going to share all the steps that I went through with you guys, and if I made any mistakes, I'll share that with you so that you don't, hopefully you go through the same mistakes. And if I have any tricks and tips along the way, I'll be more than happy to share that with you. Okay, we're ready with that? Let's go! Alright, so what is the work and holiday visa? Well, if you go to the Japan Embassy website here in Canada, it is going to give you some sort of explanation as to what the work and holiday visa is, the history of the work and holiday visa, how it started and why. I'm going to try to cut all that off this video to save a little bit of time. I'll just give you a brief explanation of what a work and holiday visa is, and I'm going to try to paste a link down below that is going to give you an explanation of what the work and holiday visa is and all the countries that are members of this program. So in brief, the work and holiday visa is a program, a visa basically, that gives young citizens of certain countries the ability to travel abroad, to go to other countries and be there as temporary residents. When talking about temporary residency, we're talking about anywhere between 6 months and 18 months depending on countries. Now, there are numbers of countries that are part of this work and holiday program. It applies to young people between the age of 18 years old and 30 years old. If you're older than 30 years old, they won't take you, sorry about that. But, well, if you're younger than 18 years old, well, then you won't be taking, you need to be major. Basically, the purpose of this visa is to help young people acquire international work experience as well as life experience. So the work and holiday visa here, specifically for Japan, is mostly a way for you guys to experience the Japanese culture, to get to travel the country. It is a business too, right? They give you the opportunity to get a job, so you have an unlimited work ability. The only thing you can do in Japan under the work and holiday visa is working in bars, pachinko places, which is basically gambling places, like casinos and all that stuff, and I believe like strip clubs and all that stuff. Otherwise, you have full ability, you can work anywhere you want. And the purpose of this visa is just to have some sort of balance between work and travel. So you work, you earn a little bit of money, you go use that money towards a trip anywhere in the country or around Japan to kind of boost their economy and all that stuff. So that's briefly what the work and holiday visa is. I'm sorry if I'm speaking too fast. I'm going to try to slower the pace for everyone to understand. Do you know that I have a Montreal terrible accent? Sorry about that. Mother tongue is French. No problems. So we go through the prerequisites of the work and holiday visa application, again for Canadians. I'm in Vancouver here, so when I applied for my work and holiday visa, I went to the Vancouver downtown Japanese consulate location. I believe it was very close to Burrard Station, towards the western side of downtown. I believe it was Bute Street and Bute and something. It is a building. You go there, take the elevator, you go up to the 5th floor, I believe, and then that will be the Japanese embassy, Japanese consulate. Sorry. Now, the prerequisites in order for you to be eligible to get the work and holiday visa, what it says here is you need to be a Canadian citizen. who is currently a resident in Canada. So you need to make sure that you reside in Canada before applying for the working holiday visa. If you're coming from another working holiday visa from another country and just arrived to Canada, you need to make sure you stay here a minimum of 3 months or enough time for you to get your IDs back to show a proof that you reside in the country before you apply for the working holiday visa. So just keep it in mind. I had a little bit of a problem when I applied for my working holiday visa because at that time I had moved to British Columbia from Quebec. I still had my IDs from Quebec, which was a lifesaver. It helped me a lot, but if I didn't have that, I would get in trouble because BC didn't give me my IDs at that time. The second part the second prerequisite is that the applicant needs to intend primarily to stay in Japan for a specific length of time. So the working holiday visa that you're eligible for as a general Canadian citizen is up to 12 months at a time for a one-time kind of opportunity. So you need to make sure that your intended length of stay is anywhere between, I guess, a month to 12 months. Realistically, they're going to ask you in the form how long would you like to stay in Japan, and if you say like 18 months, of course, you'll get into trouble because working holiday visa is no longer 12 months. They might be nice to you and say, listen, we can only give you a year. If you want to stay longer, then you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta extend your visa, which by the way you can't do for the working holiday visa, but you can switch to another visa or change your purpose of stay in Japan. That's what they call it. Well, you can do all of that, but you realistically try to stick to 12 months or below for the intended period of stay, at least for your working holiday visa application. Then if you change your mind and want to stay longer in Japan, you can do whatever you want at that point. The third prerequisite is that you need to be between 18 and 30 years of age at the time of application. If you're 18, you can go apply. If you're 30, you can go apply. If you're anywhere in between, we'll understand that you can go apply. If you're 31 years old, they won't let you in. It's the law, unfortunately. And I heard that it's going down for the age limited. So they're going to try to push it down to 25 for the oldest age. The fourth prerequisite is that you need to possess reasonable funds to support yourself, including medical expenses during the initial period of stay in Japan. Now, if we talk numbers, what they required last time, and we'll go through that paragraph a little later. What they ask if you're a single person is that you take with you a minimum of 2,500 Canadian dollars to help yourself for your initial period of stay in Japan, at least for the 3 initial months of your stay. Now that's what they ask you. That's the minimum amount they ask you for a single person. They also ask $3,500 for couples going under a working holiday visa program to Japan together. That's what they say. Now, it doesn't work that way. $2,500 is about 180,000 yen, which is not a lot of money, to be honest with you. The rental cost is going to be a little too high for you to be able to assume the cost of living in Japan, at least for the 3 first months. So I encourage you to take with you at least $6,000. In my case, I took $8,000, and to be honest with you, within 1 month, it was all gone. $8,000 became about 600-ish thousand yen, and I had to rent an apartment. I went the Japanese traditional way in renting an apartment. We'll talk about it later, by the way. And basically, when you do that, you need to pay like the real estate agency fee plus the 1 month rent up front, plus you need to pay what we call a gift money, which in the Japanese culture is intended to be a thank you towards the landlord. Thank you for letting us in. Thank you for selecting us to be your tenants, which is another 1 month's worth cost. And also you have to pay the maintenance fee, which is equal to your monthly rent price. So basically up front you need to pay 4 times what the cost of your monthly rental would be, which is a lot of money. In my situation, I paid all of that, and then after that I had to buy furnitures and beds and fridges and all that stuff, and after I bought everything I needed and it was all minimalistic, I ended up with 100,000 yen left in my pockets. 100,000 yen, we're talking about probably about 1,200 Canadian dollars. And I was freaking out. So please make sure you take with you at least $6,000 if you're single, $8,000 if you're a couple. That would be the bare minimum. If you have more, then we're all good. Again, this applies to Tokyo. I moved to Tokyo. I didn't go to Osaka. I don't know what the cost of living is there. If you move to any other region in Japan, the cost of living might be a little lower than the Tokyo metropolitan area. So I encourage you to take a look at that online. I'm going to try to post some additional information down below here for your consideration. Going next to the next prerequisite, you need to possess a valid Canadian passport and a return travel ticket. Now, the form online is a little old because to be honest with you, it's the same that I filled out when I went to Japan back in 2015. Now what they tell you when you go to the embassy or the consulate is, of course, you need to have a Canadian passport, otherwise you're not even able to leave the country. But for the return travel ticket, what they do is they ask you either to have a return flight ticket, and they won't ask you that one at the time of application because they will encourage you not to buy a flight ticket until you get your visa. Right, it's a little contradicting here, but what they ask you now is that you show them proof of money that you can afford to come back to Canada in case of an emergency while you're staying there under the working holiday visa. The purpose is that they don't want to have to go through that hassle of sending you back home and paying for that, right? So they want to make sure that you are able to pay for your own expenses in case of emergency and just come back home by yourself. So yeah, bottom of the line, just show them your Canadian passport. If they ask you for the return flight ticket, tell them, look, I haven't decided when I'm coming back. It is definitely going to be within the year, but I prefer to keep this money with me and I'll use it whenever I feel ready to come back. That's it. And that will be clean cut. Next point is that you need to be in good health and have no criminal record. So what you need to do basically is you need to go for a thorough medical check. Try to go to your family doctor if you have one. If not, just go to your nearest clinic or hospital, ask them to do a thorough check. Tell them that it is for a work and holiday visa application. They're used to it, especially in Vancouver. We have lots of travelers here, luckily. I went to a clinic near Joy Station. I used to live there before I moved to Japan. It was a Chinese clinic, and I just went and explained them the situation and said, look, I'm applying for a work and holiday visa. I'm intending to go and live in Japan for about a year. So they're asking me for like a medical check. I know that I have no health concerns. I would just like to have like a thorough medical check and just have the doctor's note saying that I'm fit to fly and able to travel abroad. So it was pretty quick. It took about 5-10 minutes. I had a thorough check. I didn't even do any CT scans, just listens to, the doctor just listened to my heart rate, took my pulse rate, checked my ears, my nose, all that stuff. It's a regular routine medical check, and I was good to go. For the criminal record part, if you have an absolute discharge, it is not going to work. You have to wait to get a pardon and get that absolute discharge removed from your criminal record file before you can apply for a working holiday visa. I know that because I had one of my friends in the same situation, and they unfortunately declined their visa. They asked them to reapply as soon as the absolute discharge is removed from the criminal record. So if you have a criminal record, then obviously you need to wait to get a pardon, same as the absolute discharge, until everything is gone. Because Japan has the ability to check with the Canadian police, with the RCMP, whether you have one or not. You need to have never obtained a Japanese working holiday visa before. That's obvious. Japanese working holiday visa is only a one-time kind of thing. You can have it once in a lifetime. If you have dual citizenship, and if both of your citizenships belong to the countries that are member of the working holiday visa program, well, guess what? Good news. You can reapply for the working holiday visa under your second citizenship. Let's say, for example, you're German and Canadian. You can apply for a first working holiday visa to go to Japan as a Canadian. That's not a good example because Germany doesn't allow you to get double citizenship, but let's pretend they do, okay? So you can apply for working holiday visa under your Canadian citizenship. You go to Japan, you come back, you can apply again under your German citizenship, but you need to make sure you reside in Germany at least 3 months before you do that. So that's a good thing, just in case you want to do that. And that's quite a fun workaround in this situation. You guys are lucky. And the other prerequisite, well, that's it. We're done with that. So it says applicants residing in the city of Ottawa must submit all of the following documents in person only. You cannot submit any documents online, and you need to go to the Embassy of Japan. In Ottawa, they have an embassy, they don't have a consulate. So for the application, you need to prepare a couple of documents. So briefly, you'll need to have your valid Canadian passport. You need to have the completed visa application form. You will need to provide them with one recent picture. We're talking about less than 6 months. The picture format is 45 millimeters by 45 millimeters or 2 inches by 2 inches. If you go with Imperial, you need to give them your personal resume. To be honest with you, my resume, it was nothing when I applied. I had nothing really. I didn't have a great experience at the time, but whatever. I got the visa, right? They will ask you for a detailed itinerary of your stay in Japan. There's a form that you need to fill out, and it's just going to ask you where you're going. If you have your map, like your own map of the places you wanted to visit, where you're going, how long you're going to stay in a city, and if you're planning to move from a city to another. Basically, they want you to move a little bit in Japan because remember, it's a business. They want to make money. They want you to kind of move, go all over the place, travel, discover the country, learn the culture. That's something that they really like. They don't really follow up on you. As soon as you enter the country, that's it. They don't even care about you. All they want to know is that you leave the country before the expiry date of your visa. That's it. If you extend your visa, you're all good. So I just, in my case, what I did is I went on Google, to be honest with you. I didn't know anything about Japan. I just went on Google. I just wrote all tourism attractions in Japan, and I saw all of them. Just went to the Kanto area, Tokyo and surroundings, and I just picked all the biggest spots and just made it up. Wrote like a text saying like, okay, I'm gonna stay here for 2 months, and then 3 months here. I'm gonna visit this Tsukiji fish market, Tennoji temple, whatever. And it worked fine. You need to write a letter explaining the reason why you're applying for the working holiday visa. Again, that's part of the text that I wrote, and I told them that I wanted to understand the Japanese culture. I was fascinated by the Japanese culture, wanted to know more about the culture, the country, people, their food culture, wanted to experience different tastes, wanted to experience different ways of seeing things, and basically wanted to immerse myself into the Japanese culture. And it went fine. You need to get a note from an accredited physician stating that you are in a good health, and you need to show them the original note, not a photocopy. We talked about that already. And also they ask you to show them a return airline ticket or flight itinerary provided by an airline company or travel agency. Please note, we are not responsible for tickets which are unusable due to delay or denial of the visa. So, self-explanatory. You need to provide them with a return airline ticket. I know we talked about that earlier. They don't do that anymore. In my case, honestly, I just waited to get the visa, then I bought a one-way flight ticket to go to Japan, and they were not even aware of it. They didn't even ask me anything about the flight ticket. However, what I did is that I printed the flight itinerary. I went to a travel agency at Metrotown, and there's the flight center at Metrotown, the Metropolis, the mall, and I just went there and asked them what would be the cost of a round trip ticket to go to Tokyo and back to Vancouver. And I gave them the dates roughly, and I asked them to print an itinerary for me, which they did, and I included it in my application file, and it went fine. And yeah, they mentioned again to make sure that you do not go ahead and purchase any flight ticket, at least until you get your visa. If it gets denied and you get the flight ticket, well, you either go there as a tourist or you're losing your flight ticket, right? And the last point is they mentioned in the recommended amount of money that you need to take with you, minimum. Single is $2,500 US, and for couples, $3,500 US again. Now, they say the same thing for Canadian dollars. It is not sufficient, and it's going to be tough. Processing time. Working holiday visa takes at least 1 week to process. Applications submitted on short notice will not be accepted. So there's no such a thing as applying on short notice. Unless you already got your flight ticket and you're trying to pressure them into processing your file faster, they don't do case by case in Japan. Usually they always go by the book. They have that processing time. They will go by the book, and it is going to take whatever they tell you it is going to take. In my case, although they say it takes about a week, it took about 5 days for them to complete everything. So I applied. 5 days later, got a call back from them saying, hey, your visa got approved. Please come and pick up your passport. No, actually, they didn't tell me that my visa was approved, so I freaked out. They said, hey, you can come back and pick up your passport. I was like, did I get it? Did I not get it? So I was sweaty, and I was all stressing out on the way down to Barrage, and my heart was pounding, and I got there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to faint right now. And I got there, and they gave me the passport, and I was just rushing through the pages, and like, okay, I got the flight ticket, I got the visa, and I'm like, see, I'm losing my word. I just got that emotion back. So, trying to be funny, eh? It's 10:30 p.m. So I got the visa finally after 5 days, and I was ready to go to Japan, and trust me, it was amazing. Now, additional information that I'd like to share with you guys. What they say here, it is recommended that insurance coverage be arranged before leaving Canada, as stipulated under the conditions of employment for the work and holiday visa. The period of employment in Japan is usually not long enough to qualify for coverage undertaken by the employers or companies. I know in English it doesn't really make a lot of sense because it is not written by natives, but still, it does make a little bit of sense. Basically what they're saying is you should arrange to get your personal insurance before you go to Japan, so you're covered for the entirety of the work and holiday visa period. However, there's something they don't tell you about. And that is that with the work and holiday visa program, you're qualified to get the national insurance, the national Japanese insurance, which is called the Kokumin Kenko Hoken. When you arrive in Japan, they will give you your residence card, which they call Zaryu Kado. That card is basically your immigration status card. Only foreigners have that card. If the police ask you for your ID, that is going to be your main ID. That is going to be the ID that they will always ask you to show them to prove your immigration status, just to make sure that you're not illegal in Japan. And you get that card at the airport, okay? They will tell you at the airport that you need to go to the city hall within 14 days of arrival, once you've found your place of residence, to register your address, your home address in that card. Now you go to the city hall, you speak with an agent, they ask you for the card, you give them the card. On the back side of the card, they will have to manually write your address by hand, and they will have to stamp it with a city hall stamp to make it official. And that is going to count as a official address registration, at least for your first card. When you extend your visa for the other 6 months, they will then be able to write it with a computer, and your address will be printed on the front side of your card. When you get that card, and when you get that card registered, you will be able to ask them at the city hall to apply for the Kokumin Kenko Hoken. Kokumin Kenko Hoken. I'm gonna write it down in the description so you know how to pronounce it. The application is pretty quick. They will help you generally with all the forms because you're not Japanese, so they'll help you fill out the forms. They ask you a couple of questions. They do not speak English, so make sure you go with someone that masters Japanese, at least someone that can help you with translation, to fill out all those required forms and get your insurance card. They will most likely give you the insurance card the same day. It's just a piece of paper that they give you in a plastic kind of foil, and that's it. You have your insurance card ready. The way it works in Japan is you pay 20% of the cost, the government pays the rest of it, and then it goes through your taxes, it gets deducted at the end of the year, and yada yada yada. You also get your what they call it. There's a card on the back of your insurance card, and that is for you to have generic medicine rather than the original one, because the original medicine costs a little bit more than generic one. So showing them that card is going to considerably lower the cost that you will have to pay at the end of your medical consultation. In my case, typical doctor's consultation with prescription would cost about 1,400 yen, which is about 18 bucks in total, which is pretty cheap. I know in Canada we don't pay anything, but well, this is what it is in Japan. At least you have a very, very, very good medical system, and I have nothing but good things to say about that. Second point, it says applicants must enter Japan within 12 months after the date of issue of their visa. So when they give you the visa, it is going to be clearly written. The visa you'll get most likely is going to be for 6 months. That's the initial one. That's the one you will use to enter Japan. Okay? Then they'll give you the card. The card is also going to be for 6 months. After 6 months, you'll have to go to the nearest immigration office and apply for an extension to get a second card. They'll give you another card for 6 months. If you are 30 years old, I've seen people applying at the age of 30. If you are at the end of your 30 years old and within the next 6 months you'll turn 31, you will no longer be able to extend your visa while you're in Japan. So in that case, what they will do at the embassy is they will approve you for a 12 months visa right away. So as soon as you arrive in Japan, when you get your card at the airport, they give you a 12 months card. You don't have to renew it because they know that you'll turn 31 in Japan within the next year, and they want to make it easier for you. Pretty smart, eh? Japan. Yeah, so bottom line, they give you a first 6 months card or visa. You need to extend it for a second one. I know Australians have 18 months, so they extend it twice, which is awesome. I hope they'll be working on it to get Canadians to have the advantage of traveling for 18 months in Japan. Third point is a period of stay. We talked about it. Up to 6 months may be initially granted at the port of entry. This may be extended for up to an additional 6 months by the immigration authorities in Japan. Of course, you have to be of a good character, otherwise it might be difficult. Just make sure you're nice with them at the immigration office, because especially in 2020, they're going to be working a lot. They might be really frustrated. Can you imagine how many visas they're going to have to process? Wow. So working holiday visas are for single entry only. Therefore, if the working holiday participant needs to leave Japan for any reason and wishes to return to Japan, the person must obtain a re-entry permit from the immigration authorities before leaving Japan. This means that in case you arrive in Japan, you got your working holiday visa, everything is in good standing, but you need to leave Japan temporarily before you come back. Under the working holiday visa status, you're going to have to apply for a re-entry permit. I know it sounds scary, and they will tell you have to go to the immigration office and get your re-entry permit and blah, blah, blah. Good thing is that in Japan, as opposed to Canada, whether you enter the country or you leave the country, you have to go through immigration anyways. I know in Canada we don't have to go through immigration once we leave in the country. You just go through security, they check your clothes, then duty-free area, then you go straight to the airplane. In Japan, They check your clothes, you go through security, then you go downstairs, we're talking about Narita Airport, and then you go through immigration, customs. And then you need to declare you need to declare that you're leaving Japan. So they will actually stamp your passport, and you will see departure. When you arrive, they stamp your passport and it says arrival, right? So basically, the way it works for you to get a re-entry permit is the first time that it happens to you to get a re-entry permit, you get it for free. You don't need to pay for it. It happens at the airport. Once you go through the customs on your way out of the country, they will ask you whether you're coming back or not, because they will ask you for your Zaru card. And once you show them the Zaru card, they'll see that you still have enough validity for you to stay in Japan. So they ask you whether you'll be coming back within the same year or not. If your answer is yes, then they will ask you whether you're interested to get a re-entry permit. Re-entry permit looks like a rectangular sort of form with two parts in it, one that shows departure, the other one that shows arrival. They will ask you to fill out the departure side on the spot, and you ask for your name, flight number, where you're going to, how long you're going to be staying, when you're coming back, your name, your passport number, and all that stuff. And then they detach the departure portion, they scan it, they keep it with them. You'll hold on to the arrival portion. They'll stamp it on your passport. You need to keep that with you, because that is your proof that that proves them that you have a re-entry permit, that you can enter Japan again under the working holiday visa. So when you arrive in Japan, assuming you went on a trip and you came back, as soon as you arrive there, you will need to fill out the arrival portion of that re-entry permit. Same information, name, address, where you came from, how long you've been staying outside of the country, and then passport information and yada yada yada. They take a look at it, they scan it, bam, you're back into the country, working holiday visa is continuing. Of course, you will lose the time that you've spent outside of the country. It is not going to be usable in your working holiday visa. If you left for a month, well, guess what? You lost a month of your working holiday visa, and you cannot get it back. But at least you can continue to stay in Japan with the same working holiday visa. So that's what they mean. Fifth point says that working holiday visitors will be issued a residence card at the port of entry. Please visit a local municipal office in Japan with your residence card within 14 days of finding a place to reside. That's exactly what I said earlier, so we don't need to repeat ourselves. And the last point says that you should ask for a statement of earnings in English while in Japan and call Revenue Canada for the appropriate information when you return to Canada. So basically, that's something I didn't do. That's my biggest mistake, because I ran into so much trouble when I came back to Canada, especially when it comes to applying for the MSP and the PharmaCare card, the provincial insurance card, as well as the medical expenses waiver card. Yeah, I should have done that. Stupid me. Yeah, so if you go to Japan, just make sure before you come back, whether you stay under working holiday visa or any other visa, make sure that you get them to give you a statement of earnings in English while you're there, so that when you come back here, you got all your documentation and proof of salary, so that you can get your MSP or IDs back as soon as possible in a seamless way. So that's about it. We're done with all the requirements. The form is pretty straightforward. It is just going to ask you for your name, your passport information. It's going to ask you for guarantors in Japan. If you have any guarantor that is going to sponsor your stay in Japan, with their addresses, their status in Japan if they're non-Japanese but they live in Japan, and then they will ask you regular questions, whether you have a criminal record, if you've had drugs issues in the countries, if you went to jail, etc., etc. But assuming you're answering no to all of those questions, shouldn't be a problem. In case you answer yes to any of the questions in the form, then you have to provide them with an explanation and with supporting documentation to prove that it has been resolved or anything like that. So that's about it. All we talked about right now is the regular way of getting a working holiday visa through the embassy or the consulate. There's another way for you to get a working holiday visa. Not a lot of people do that, but it is still a possibility. It is through what we call recognized organizations. I know that in Canada we do have the same reciprocal program for Japanese people that wish to come to the country, and we actually use the same companies for that, which is super interesting. Now you can apply for your working holiday visa through a recognized organization, which is a company that is going to sponsor you for everything from A to Z. First thing they'll do is they sponsor you for the visa. They will act as guarantors because they're located here and in Japan. They have a significant reputation that allows them to sponsor you to stay in a foreign country. What they will do is they will help you with translation when you move to the country. They'll help you to get your visa for sure. They'll help you to find a rental place. They'll help you to find a job, and they will help you to open a bank account, which is super, super, super helpful, especially if you have no language abilities. If you're just gonna be a stranger in a stranger land, use them. They will be very, very helpful. The only downside is it costs you a lot of money. So we're not talking about $6,000, $8,000 anymore. We're talking about $10K plus, right? If you feel confident about it, go through them. They will help you. They make your experience in Japan much better than anything else. Now, the name of those companies, we have 3 listed on the Japanese embassy's website. The first company is called SWAP, SWAP. Their jurisdiction, they say, is in all areas throughout Canada. So I'm assuming it is located in every single province of the country. At least one branch in every province, which is super useful. So no matter where you come from, no matter where you are, you will still be able to go through them, whether it's online or probably they have an office. You'll be able to do that through SWAP. So that's the name of the company. I've read a little bit about them, and they seem to be a very good company. I never used them, but yeah, super cool. Again, everything is going to be on the description below if you need to get any more information about them. The second company and the third are both located only in British Columbia and Yukon. It does not specify the cities, but I'm assuming larger cities of those provinces. Name of the companies are, first one is Go International, just as you spell it, Go International, and the second one is called Step Abroad. As I said, both of them are located in British Columbia and Yukon for, I guess, residents of BC and Yukon. And that is pretty much it. They will require you a fee going up to $10,000 in order to process everything, basically. And that's going to be on top of the minimum amount of money that you need to take with you anyways to Japan for the purpose of your working holiday visa program. We're done with everything, I guess. If you have any question in regards to your working holiday visa application, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. I'm going to do my best to answer your question as soon as possible. I'm just starting with this YouTube channel. Please give me just a little bit of time. I'm going to try to get everything set up. I'm not going to be editing this video, so if I say bullshit, sorry for the language. It is not going to be edited, but down the line, I'm probably going to be editing my videos and making them look much better. Again, I'm using an iPad to film myself, but hopefully I'll be able to use better equipment to make my videos, and I'll learn probably how to edit videos and make them look fancy and all that stuff. So if you have any question, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to be able to share all of my experiences with you without any hesitation. I'll be more than happy to do that because I want you to enjoy your stay in Japan, because it's an amazing country. You will enjoy your stay. It is going to stay in your heart and in your mind forever. Whether you're staying there for only a year, 6 months, or more than a year, it is going to be a life changer. Again, it's Visi Rush from Vancouver. You have yourself a good night.